Nintendo has had an impressive, almost inexhaustible lineup of formidable titles and iconic characters for about as long as they've been in existence. Some stay in the spotlight annually, like Mario and Kirby, while others seem to take a while to bake, but produce great results like Animal Crossing and Legend of Zelda, while others have been dormant for decades. Today, we will take a look at every major Nintendo franchise. It's worth noting for this list, I'm going to try to limit spin-offs like the endless Mario spin-offs, or this video would probably never end. And we're going to be doing it alphabetically, which means we're going to get started with Animal Crossing. The last time we saw Animal Crossing, the world was getting weird. March of 2020, Animal Crossing New Horizons dropped alongside mandatory lockdowns. The world felt isolated, different and strange. Nintendo blessed millions with an escape from the new world outside our doors. This game is often mentioned for games that released at the right time for good reason. I honestly debated on not speaking much of Balloon Fight. I'm not sure anyone in my audience has even really played this game. However, even though it's not much of a franchise, Nintendo seems dead set on keeping the image of Balloon Fight alive. It's been ported over several times, sure, but that's not the only reason I'm mentioning it today. It was playable in Animal Crossing, which is pretty interesting to me. It also has had several reskins. For starters, Tingle's Balloon Fight in Japan on DS, and it's a mini-game in WarioWare Incorporated on GBA. Yes, I don't guess Balloon Fight has really ever had a true home console sequel, but it also seems headstrong on not dying out completely. The Big Brain Academy actually surprised me. The last time we saw Nintendo's portable puzzle-solving series was actually in 2021 on the Nintendo Switch, 14 years after Big Brain Academy Wii Degree. And in a very similar vein is Brain Age, another educational puzzle franchise that I thought died on DS that is still kicking on the Nintendo Switch with Dr. Kawashima's brain training for Nintendo Switch in 2019. Next up is Chibi Robo. Chibi Robo was originally released on the GameCube in 2005. Since his original house-sprawling escapades, he has been relegated to the handheld outings. A sad fate for such a cute little robot. While on the DS family of consoles, he's tried his hand at patrolling parks, finding photos, and lashing zips. I'm not really sure if that last one made sense, just like it doesn't make sense that we have not had a Chibi Robo game in almost over a decade. Chibi Robo Ziplash released on 3DS in 2015. Custom Robo is another franchise I almost didn't mention today. I honestly didn't even know it was published by Nintendo. It had 5 entries in the franchise, but it took its 4th title to make it stateside. That was on the Nintendo GameCube. Its 5th and final release came out on the DS. Let me know in the comments how many of you are fans of Custom Robo. I might just check out the GameCube title. That brings us to Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong abandoned his arcade roots to move into the country and eat a lot of bananas. He had a brief stint in the 3D space in DK64 on Nintendo 64 before returning to the country once more on Wii. And I guess time really is a circle, because after his smash hit Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, he will be returning to the country once more, I'm sure, to still eat a lot of bananas all over again. The Big Ape deserves a new title, but we'll have to settle for another re-release when Donkey Kong Country returns once more on Nintendo Switch, January 16th, 2025. We're going to be skipping over Dr. Mario because you cannot convince me this man has a PhD. Which gets us to Earthbound, or as the series is known in Japan as Mother. Yes, Mother 2/Earthbound is the only title to have mainstream relevancy outside of Japan, but that never stopped the fans from wanting a true North American, or anywhere outside of Japan really, I guess, release of Mother 3. Mother 3 is another casualty of the failed 64DD. This was supposed to be Nintendo's future, how they were going to embrace the ever-changing video game landscape. However, it flopped and Mother 3 got stuck in limbo until it was resurrected for Game Boy Advance in 2006. Endless Ocean is a deep-sea diving exploration game where you explore deep below the water's surface. It's also a franchise that got an unlikely revival. After being dormant for 14 years, it resurfaced on Nintendo Switch May 2nd, 2024 with Endless Ocean Luminous. Next up is Fire Emblem. Fire Emblem has been a franchise for what feels like forever, but has really hit its stride with the 3DS and Nintendo Switch releases. Fire Emblem is Nintendo's hardcore turn-based RPG famous for its permadeaths that scared me away from playing Fire Emblem games on the GameCube. Fire Emblem Engage is the latest title releasing on Nintendo Switch in 2023. F-Zero. F-Zero seems to be a victim of Mario Kart's success. Despite being a cult classic, F-Zero hasn't had a true console release since F-Zero GX on GameCube in 2003. However, it did see a small revival with a digital release of F-Zero 99 20 years later in 2023. Ice Climbers. Another franchise I almost didn't talk about because it doesn't even meet the threshold of having at least 2 games. But the lovable duo were in Smash Brothers, so that earned some notoriety in my book. With that said, the last time we saw the Ice Climbers was all the way back on the Nintendo Entertainment System in 1985. Kid Icarus. Like the Ice Climbers, Pit has been featured in several Smash Bros. Games, but unlike them has actually pulled off a sequel or two. The last time we saw Pit was flying on 3DS in 2012 with Kid Icarus Uprising. Another landmark franchise for Nintendo is Kirby. Kirby has been killing it on the Nintendo Switch with nearly annual releases as far back as the mind can remember. However, no Kirby game has been announced in 2024, so the streak is in jeopardy. Will that end this year? Only time will tell. As such, the last time we saw Kirby was actually in a remake. Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe came out on Nintendo Switch in 2023. Luigi's Mansion. Luigi may not outshine Mario, but he has certainly captured the spotlight with his own game series when Luigi's Mansion debuted as a launch title for the Nintendo GameCube way back when. It's gone on to become a successful trilogy. The last time we saw the franchise was very recently at the filming of this video. Luigi's Mansion 2 HD was released on Nintendo Switch in June of 2024. Skipping a metric ton of Mario spin-offs lands us in deep space with the next Nintendo franchise, Metroid. Metroid always seems to tread the line of cult classic and potential superstar. It hasn't quite had the mainstream success of other Nintendo franchises, but fans have been patiently awaiting Metroid Prime 4, which is slated to release in 2025. However, since we're sadly stuck in 2024, the last time we saw Samus was in the Metroid Prime Remaster in 2023. Nintendogs is an interesting one. I was a DS fiend, don't get me wrong, but this is a rare example of a game just missing me in age. Which sounds silly, I was 10 when this game came out. But I was playing grown-up games like Pokemon. I also viewed this as a baby game. It probably didn't help that my family always viewed Nintendogs as baby's first game, being one of the earliest games my brother and my sister both played. But I can't deny the popularity of the franchise. This game spawned several sequels and spin-offs. For some reason, people thought we needed a cat version? I'm not really sure why. It is worth noting, I did play these games a fair bit helping my siblings, and it could be addicting. As it stands, the last time we saw Nintendogs was in 2011. I hope whoever came up with the name Nintendogs got a well-deserved raise because it's such a clever name. Pikmin is our next series. Pikmin has been a relatively consistent franchise for the Big N over its 2-decade run. The latest entry for Pikmin is Pikmin 4, which released in 2023 on the Switch. It's also worth noting all 4 Pikmin games are playable on the Nintendo Switch. I love it when you can play an entire franchise on a single console. Alright, Pilot Wings last spread its wings, or glider, I guess, on the 3DS in 2011. If you're like me, you're surprised it's been that long, but that seems kind of normal for this franchise. There was a 6-year gap between Pilot Wings and Pilot Wings 64, and a 15-year gap between Pilot Wings 64 and Pilot Wings Resort. What I'm getting at is, it's only been 13 years since Pilot Wing Resort, so there's still kinda hope for the Pilot Wing franchise, and this is a franchise that I really do hope they bring to the Switch, or the Switch successor at some point, because I think it'd be really beautiful actually getting to fly around modern day graphics. Alright, going alphabetically, this may be a bold choice, but I'm actually going to skip over the entirety of Pokemon. Trust me, I love Pokemon, but there's so many spin-offs and such that it could be its own video. So if this video does well, and you want to see the last time we saw each Pokemon series, where we tackle Pokemon Stadium, Pokemon Snap, Poke Park, Pokemon Rangers, you know, Mystery Dungeon, stuff like that, then leave a comment, leave a like. Let me know that that's something you guys would want to see, and I'll start working on that video. Alright, with Pokemon out of the way, that brings us to Punch-Out! Punch-Out received a almost said a reboot on the Wii in 2009's release, Punch-Out! However, Doc Lewis Punch-Out! Would release the same year as a WiiWare exclusive to Platinum members of Club Nintendo. I'll let you be the judge whether this counts or not, but it does technically exist. Now, to Rhythm Heaven. I was actually surprised to learn that Beat Agent does not have any sequels, thus not constituting a franchise, while Rhythm Heaven has 4 titles. The latest entry being a compilation of sorts titled Rhythm Heaven Mega Mix on 3DS back in 2015. Splatoon is one of the newer Nintendo franchises. It's also one of the games I point to when people say Nintendo doesn't release new IPs or new games. It spawned 2 sequels in its deathmatch Splatfest style of gameplay. While Splatoon 4 is still probably a new console away, Splatoon 3 got a DLC in 2024 titled Splatoon 3 Side Order, meaning this franchise is still going strong. Star Fox is next, and I'm desperately awaiting a sequel. You may be thinking the last time we saw Star Fox and crew was on the Wii U with the commercial failure Star Fox Zero back in 2016. Well, you'd be mistaken. Thanks to the launch of the Super Nintendo Mini, Nintendo snuck out Star Fox 2 in 2017. Very cheeky, Nintendo. Very, very cheeky. So, I guess that finally brings us to Super Mario. Like I said, skipping the Mario spin-offs. So, Mario will have 2 entries, a 2D entry and a 3D entry. Much like Pokemon, if you want to see the last time we saw Mario Kart, the last time we saw Paper Mario, the last time we saw Mario and Luigi, then give this video a like and say you'd like to see a Mario spin-off episode. With that out of the way, let's start with the 3D entry. Super Mario Odyssey was a landmark release for the Nintendo Switch in its first year, 2017. Everybody thought the natural 3D follow-up would be Odyssey 2, which, yeah, you would think, but we're still waiting for the much-anticipated 3D sequel. Instead, we got a re-release of Super Mario 3D World with an added mode called Bowser's Fury. On the 2D side, in the most recent Mario outing, we have Super Mario Bros. Wonder in 2023. Once again, returning Mario to his 2D roots he knows so well. Which reminds me, guys, if you want to check out one of our more recent videos, 2D games that went 3D and returned to their 2D roots. I know the name kind of sounds confusing, but if you want to see other games like Super Mario that started off 2D, jumped to 3D, and then returned back to 2D, go check out that video. We talk about Super Mario as well as 3 other franchises. But, having said all that, what great adventure awaits the Mustache Muchacho next? Well, we'll just have to wait for the next Nintendo console for that answer. Super Smash Bros. Is in an interesting spot. Sakurai basically created his video game opus with Super Smash Bros. Ultimate in 2018, the last time we saw the franchise. Honestly, I'm okay if that's where the series ends. It'd be hard to top considering they made the perfect love letter to fans. I guess they could always add Hat Kid to the roster, but that's just wishful thinking at this point. It's been 6 years since Ultimate launched, and there's no clear motivation or want for a sequel. I could see this just being ported over to the next console, but as of now, 2018 was the last time we saw the series get a new game. Wario is another game that's going to get 2 entries. The first is for the self-titled Wario series. Wario has come a long way, originally starting on the Game Boy under the Super Mario Land moniker, to pulling away from Mario altogether to land 2 franchises. 2008 featured the last Wario game titled Wario Land Shake It on Wii. 2008 may seem like a long time to go without a new title, but that's because his other series, WarioWare, has been carrying the torch with about 10 entries in the series, and it has been pretty active. This includes his latest game titled WarioWare Move It in 2023 on Nintendo Switch. Alright guys, we're getting close to the end here, so I'd like to remind everybody, if you're enjoying the content, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share the channel with a friend. We appreciate all the support, guys. Next up is Wave Racer, a franchise I'm really surprised Nintendo has left behind. Like Pilot Wings, it only has 3 entries. However, it's been a long while since we've seen the jet ski racer in action. Its last title was on the GameCube all the way back in 2001, just barely sneaking into the century. Think about that. I'm going to skip over all the Wii branded series like Wii Fit and Wii Party. Most of those franchises died out on the Wii U for several reasons. The Wii U was a financial flop, the company was rebranding, moving towards the Switch brand, you know. So on and so forth, but I will point out that Wii Sports seems to be the only one in the series of games to make it over to the Switch with Nintendo Switch Sports. Are there any other fitness-based entries on the Switch that I missed? Let me know. Wrecking Crew is one of those entries. I could take it or leave it. Nintendo really hasn't done anything to modernize or bring this franchise into the modern age of gaming, which I thought they easily could have made an updated eShop version of Wrecking Crew, but I don't guess they really have. Yet, we actually see Spike in the Wrecking Crew in the Super Mario Bros. Movie. Maybe, just maybe, Nintendo will be interested in reviving this seemingly dead franchise. Alright, I am going to include Xenoblade here because I feel like with its success on the Switch, Monolith Software and Xenoblade are kind of ubiquitous with Nintendo at this point. For those of you unfamiliar, Monolith and the Xeno franchise actually started life on the PS2, where their games were primarily published by Namco. Despite being iconic in the retro gaming community, the franchise had been considered an underperformer. Monolith and Nintendo would go on to breathe new life into the Xeno series with the Wii release of Xenoblade Chronicles in 2010. The franchise has maintained its status as one of Nintendo's strongest RPGs, spawning several sequels. We last saw Xenoblade Chronicles in 2022 with Xenoblade Chronicles 3 on Nintendo Switch. Next is Yoshi. Yoshi is my favorite Nintendo character. He started his days out being sacrificed for some lame plumber back in the day, but he has scratched and clawed his way into numerous spin-offs and main titles. I'm proud of the little prehistoric pal, as he's carved a role for himself in the gaming world. The last time we saw Yoshi was in 2019 with the release of Yoshi's Crafted World on Nintendo Switch. The last franchise we were talking about today is The Legend of Zelda. If I had made this video when I wanted to, the last entry would have been Tears of the Kingdom, and I would be saying we probably won't see Link or Zelda again until the next Nintendo console releases. Now, following the latest Direct, Tears of the Kingdom is still the last time we saw the duo, but we don't have to wait as long as we initially thought. Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom is coming out very soon, as in the end of September, which is just insane to think about following the massive gaps between Skyward Sword and Breath of the Wild, as well as the gap between Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. It will also, in no way it seems, use the Breath of the Wild engine. Let me know if you guys are excited for the change of pace release that Echoes of Wisdom looks to be, or did you want another game in the Breath of the Wild engine? So there you have it, guys. Every major Nintendo franchise I wanted to talk about today. So I don't plan on doing a sequel to this video unless there's an outpour for Pokemon or Super Mario, or you guys really feel like I missed enough major franchises to do a follow-up video. So, let me know. What are your favorite Nintendo franchises? Which ones are you hoping come to the Switch or the Switch's successor? Any of these surprise you? Like, there was a lot that surprised me. I could have sworn there was a Pilot Wings game on the Switch, but I guess there isn't. So, let me know what you guys thought about this video. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.